Wow, it's been
Let's lock it up.
I don't hear you guys.
It's been just a minute.
It's been 9 minutes. All right.
Hot dang.
Matt, you
9
want to
minutes.
introduce it?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Beyond the Sale podcast. My name is Matt, and I work in the customer service department. And I'm joined by Joe from the owning the company department and David from the master technician department. And today we're going to be talking about how coronavirus has affected our business.
Coronavirus, pretty serious stuff. Obviously, a lot of different companies have been affected by these issues, including Apple, including any other big manufacturers. A lot of parts are being pushed back, a lot of delays everywhere. And the way it has affected us so far is one of the things we pride ourselves on is going to the root, going to the companies that actually make the parts that we use. And because of that, most of them are located in China. And we've built our supply chain to a point where we can get directly to a specific company that has a specific wire or tape or part. And all those companies, if they're not in business, if they're closed for the last 2 months, it makes it really difficult for us to be able to, one, order parts, and two, get parts from there. So it's been really difficult for us to be able to get parts. Luckily, we have a little bit of a stock of parts. China went on vacation for a couple weeks, and that's very normal. We always prepared for that because they go on vacation for 3 weeks. But then they took an additional month vacation, and that really kind of screwed a lot of our different parts situations up. And it seems like it's messed up with a lot of different other parts. I know a lot of people in different industries have been having issues getting parts. Basically, if you don't have the parts, you can't assemble things. So it definitely has affected us. It's one of those random things that I never thought in my life I'd be part of something where you have a virus. It's like watching one of those Netflix documentaries where it's like the doomsday preppers.
In 1933, the da-da-da, like...
Crazy.
Yeah.
David's really elaborate response.
Yeah.
David, how has it affected you?
Well, for the technicians, I guess, how it would affect us, the services that come in, we need parts for. And a lot of them are like special edition parts that we get from China. And what I saw you doing was going to the services and running through them before we even get confirmations from the customers to so that they're not waiting as long for the parts to arrive.
Exactly.
So, like, we don't have those in stock, so we have to use other methods to find parts.
Yeah, we basically have to pay 5 times as much for parts and then use our U.S. suppliers rather than going directly to China, which is kind of our value add is to go directly to the vendors or directly to the manufacturers.
But basically, either way, you're getting the customer, exactly what they need. And even though it costs 5 times as much, it's like, well, we need to do this, so we got to make it work. So One of my main questions then was like so as a lean company, obviously one of the, something that's a waste is having inventory. And so we try to keep as little inventory as possible. So just taking coronavirus entirely out of account, like, have you noticed, like, for instance, last year during Lunar New Year, when China goes away for a few weeks, like, do we usually keep enough parts on hand to cover that time, or do you order extras around that time? Like, what does that look like? What sort of changes do you make around Lunar New Year?
So it's always a little bit trippy. We ordered some orders before Chinese New Year's, and they didn't ship them out. And then they still haven't shipped them out. So there's always a mix between, we do order enough of certain vital parts for that period of time, 3 weeks. We don't want to have a lot of stock, so we'll get a certain amount of something. But we definitely did not prepare for that additional 2-month lead time on anything important, which is obviously a big defect. We talk about improvements, defects, change points every day. It's a big defect when we don't have an overstock of certain vital parts. So as an improvement on that, to make sure this doesn't happen again, we're going to preemptively purchase 3 times as much parts during that period of time.
Gotcha.
And now we put certain stickers on Kanban cards, which are our reorder cards for vital parts. And we also raised all our Kanban levels as well. So we did kind of 2 different things where we made the cards have specific stickers, which means they're vital parts. And 2, we made the reorder point about twice as high. Gotcha. And our order quantity about twice as high. So that's really the only things we can do is order more and order sooner.
Yeah.
And that's definitely things that have changed.
Yeah. So if you're planning to then order is that change just for like, say you're end of December, you're gonna order that, or are you thinking every month from here on out we're gonna order more parts?
Every month here on out we have, because we have reset the levels.
Gotcha.
So now all the levels are much sooner and much larger.
Gotcha.
And because of that, just in case there's another worldwide virus, we'll have the ability to still purchase parts at a really competitive price, go directly to the source, and then not have to worry about China just kind of screwing everyone.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah.
I heard something interesting, and somebody said, when the world's manufacturer stops manufacturing, it stops the world. The world's second largest economy stop producing.
Yeah, there's even, I was reading some reports of how, like, we're an electronics company, but China's economy is obviously very large, and it's shut down tourism in Thailand and like large parts of Asia. It affected like copper exports from Chile, just like all this crazy stuff that's been happening. Like, there's so many people affected by it, that just China being shut down. And like, even one of the other things that I was reading about is communications with suppliers were kind of dodgy, and so like they either wouldn't reply or they try to get you to like put money down on something. Yeah. And like, have either of you experienced, I don't know, David, how much you communicate with suppliers or people in China, but like
mainly Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you experienced any funny stories or like just strange, odd communications with
at a certain point, I thought about half of our suppliers were dead from the coronavirus. So that's kind of my experience with it. And when you email someone, 5, 6, 7 times and they don't respond over a month and a half, you kind of become a little concerned. We have a specific tape that we get made in our favorite country, China. And those guys didn't get back to me for about a month and a half. And typically most suppliers will keep up with you, but it's a matter of if you're dealing direct with the manufacturer, or if you're dealing with a distributor, because the distributors are usually really good about getting back to you, but the manufacturers, everyone was shut down. No one could even go into the factory to respond to their emails, right? Dang. And that's, I guess that was the issue or something I didn't understand. But yeah, at a certain point, and even now, I have some Chinese people waking up. I literally am surprised when I get emails now. There's people just like, coming out of the woodworks trying to set up orders now.
Yeah, I think we got our first package,
Monday,
yeah.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
And the last package we got was January 2nd.
And it's March.
Something.
March 4th.
March 4th. So it's been 2 months.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So David, as the master technician, kind of in charge of our like big thing servicing department, like our headphones and speakers and everything. Obviously, Joe was talking about how you guys have had to improvise with finding parts. What role have you played in that? Like, how have you been talking to the technicians about like how to handle it with customers? Like, have we told our customers that it's going to be like a little bit of a delay, or what's that look like?
Yeah. So if we have a customer that needs a certain part, and we don't have it in stock, we just give them a little heads up that we are kind of behind because we're out of parts. We're going to need to find other places to find parts. So a lot of them are cool with that. And like I said, we pre-order a lot of parts from different suppliers because even before the customer confirms, that way, our lead time is a little less than, waiting for the customer to confirm and then purchasing parts.
Yeah.
So
exactly, because we always have a little bit of a backlog of repairs. Yeah. So they're laying on the shelves. We can already tell, or I can tell exactly what's broken, and I can go order those parts now.
Nice.
And then by the time the technician gets them and the customer gets back to them, it's been only maybe a day or two.
Yeah, we might have like a day left to wait. So
nice. So it really hasn't affected the customer that much. We've just been scurrying around a little extra on the back end.
That's correct.
Not as much flow as what we're used to, considering we do focus on flow in a lean company.
Yeah. So have you were saying that you've made these improvements on like ordering, or you've just made changes on ordering, like how often you order parts and that sort of stuff. Have there been any other improvements or ideas you've had about like changing our process just because of this happening, or anything that you've realized like, that's kind of a weak spot for us, other than just, not receiving things, I guess?
Yeah, when things break and things change, it exposes weaknesses. And what I've noticed is our weaknesses in certain vital parts that we're already selling, and we do use them at the same time. When we consume them from both parts of it, where we're actually selling and using, we got to make a higher reorder point. So that's my biggest improvement, is finding those vital parts, changing the reorder points, and making sure that those specific parts are being ordered faster and in larger quantities. We're transitioning from For example, the Studio 2 wireless model, for a lot of repairs, we used to get tons of those. Now we have a bunch of headbands laying around.
Yep.
And then Studio 3's magic has started coming in. Now our reorder points were half as much. Now we had to flip basically the order points we used to have for the Studio 2s to the Studio 3s. And we tried to flip it based off demand, but sometimes that kind of screws everything else up. So that's mainly what I've been doing, is finding the vital parts, reordering larger batches, and then trying to trigger sooner. And we consolidate a lot of parts into one big shipment so we can save money on shipping. And because of that, sometimes that delays other parts because we're kind of waiting till we get a little list of stuff and then we go. And so it really comes down to reordering sooner and reordering larger quantities for specific parts that are higher in demand. And it just changes. We don't really know what it is. We just try to we try to predict, and most of the time I'm wrong. So I'm still working on that.
Yeah. So David, what are some systems that, like, obviously there's things that needed to change and improvements that we made because of this kind of setback, but what are some things that you're great, like systems that we already have in place to track things or to keep up with things that you're extra grateful for in this kind of partsless time of life?
The backstock was a good idea to have, because we had a lot of what we call the backup inventory in the bins over there.
The missing grooves inventory.
Yeah, that we never really touched, but since our supply chain has kind of
Been disrupted.
dwindling, we kind of had to start probing into those dark corners of the warehouse, trying to find parts and do some mysterious parts matching.
People have no idea what you're talking about, but everybody from the company definitely knows what you mean.
I know that corner. I know those guys.
We just have parts that are been chilling for a couple months,
Couple years.
Yeah. I remember when those got put in giant bags and shoved into the bins in the corner.
Yeah, so that's the parts we had to open up and get to.
Yeah,
that's good. Taking some excess off the shelves.
Yeah,
that's right.
Was there enough excess?
Not for everything, for sure, but we made it work.
Exactly.
Nice. Joe, how about you? You have any systems that you're extra grateful for? I mean, with all the improvements we make as a company, like, obviously there's a lot we can still do better, but we put in some good systems, and I think it would help people to know, like, in a time like this, what sort of systems do we have that help you keep track of the inventory we have, or just systems that you're grateful for that make this whole process easier, even though it's still hard?
So a couple different systems. So first off, when we need parts for a specific unit, we use Microsoft To Do. So I'm really pumped that we have that, because through there we'll be able to tell where our flaws in our supply chain. We never want to be buying anything from the US because it's going to cost us 5 times as much. So when I see a request coming in for a specific part, that's when I make the move to go ahead and try to source that part from its origin. And I'm happy that we have that, because one, we can buy the part in the US, get the customer's product fixed, but at the same time, we can build a knowledge base and start trying to build a supply chain directly to the source. So I'm really happy that we have that. Two, I'm happy that we have SKUVol. It's a great software. It keeps track of our inventory. But SKUVol is kind of also a double-edged sword, because we're selling all our parts everywhere and also using them. And so that makes us really crazy. If the part amount is small, if there's not a large pile, and one of our suppliers can quickly buy a bunch of parts and our supply's gone. And we don't want to have a lot of stuff sitting around. Anything that sits, that waits, is losing money. So that's kind of one of the things where we have to find a balance. And I love the fact that we have these systems in place, and when something like this happens, it definitely exposes the flaws we have in the reordering system, which, that means I just suck at my job. I got to get better at it. And over time, I think through experience, I'll be able to order, the correct stuff. And generally, a lot of the internals, we have a lot of the, important components, but some other things that we typically have, we don't. I'm surprised we're not adding more things.
Nice.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what's crazy. Imagine if this would have happened last year.
Yeah,
we would be shut down
for sure.
Because now we have 4 types of colors of headbands, and we haven't had a shipment for 2 months.
Yeah.
But that's what's so frustrating, is we're so used to not having that happen, that when it happens, we're like, whoa, this is crap. This sucks.
Yeah. That's good. So the growth over time, we've been making some good changes that have made this a little easier on us.
I think so. Yeah.
Heck yeah. So what specifically was different about last year? Was it just that we didn't have the like the ordering systems in place, or
we didn't have SKU vault, right?
We never had an inventory system, so that's been a nice 1.5 year project. We're currently at 3,000 unique SKUs within our software. We have 2,000 more to go, so I'm guessing it's going to take another 1.5 years. So we had no idea how much of what we had in stock. Literally just guessing.
So it would have just been easy to be like, oh, we probably have enough of those, and then you realize, oh, there's only 2 left in there. Dang, whoops.
And we had no Kanban levels. We had something, but not the way we have it now. So we would just throw a card in front of like 20 pieces of whatever and hope that somebody would bring that card to us. Yeah. But now we trained our team to understand Kanban means stop, give the card to us, let us reorder this, and it's definitely helping us out. You know, we know on that board when we go to our Kanban board, our reorder board, we know exactly where our deficit is, always at all times.
Nice. So do you want to explain that process a little more? Like, how does the whole Kanban system work from, the tech does a service, they go grab a part, and then there's a Kanban card, and they're like, how does that work? Where does the flow of that go?
Yeah. So from a tech perspective, do you want to?
Yeah. So if we're using a part, we walk up to the parts, right? We start pulling parts, and at a certain point, we get to a smaller bag or smaller section of the box that has parts inside a bag taped up. That's what we came up with, so that no one, if they actually pull apart the bag, they need to physically take that card, the reorder card, take it to our sourcing department, and have them order the part. Nice. So there's no one like misses the card or anything. It's all taped up in a bag.
Solid. So there's no easy way to cheat and be like, this is only one part in. Like, somebody else can do the Kanban thing.
Well, the training of telling people how important it is I think one thing that helps. Like, we talk about it. Hey, people still make, and we still have screw ups, right? But it's just so much on such a smaller level. We may have 1 or 2 screw ups where somebody doesn't pull it. But when we just keep reinforcing and enforcing and reinforcing and enforcing the fact that you must give these to us, it happens more often. Like, people are actually bringing their cards to us, they understand how much extra hassle it causes them when they're running out of parts. So, yeah.
Nice. So what's the flow after the tech opens the bag, grabs the Kanban card? Do they bring it to you? Who do they bring it to? Where does it go from there? Or how does that work?
So ideally, it would make it to purchasing team, me or Daniel. We would take that card, we would scan the barcode, and we'd create a purchase order. And we would set that up on SKU Vault. Then we would check with our suppliers to see who has the best price. So we would set the purchase order up, or we would first check and then set it up. Typically, we know who has the best price. So we would just set up the purchase order, let the supplier know, and then add a couple more parts to the list. So we may compile 20 to 30 parts in one shipment, and then we'll get that shipment in. Once the shipment comes in, we take the cards and we reset the level. If we got 200 of something and our Kanban level is 100, we would put all 200 into stock. We would take whatever is left and use that first. We're using the oldest stock goes out first, the newest stock stays. So if we have 200 that came in, we put 100 into a big bag, we lock it up, and we're only using that other 100 on hand. Once we break the seal, the process starts again. We take the card, we reorder it, it comes in, we reset the level.
Nice. And you said you keep all these Kanban cards organized on like a board you put them on, or?
Yeah, so we use a piece of sheet metal, and all the Kanban cards have magnets, so we simply just put it on the board, and we integrated our barcode labels on there. It's really easy. You just scan it and you add the quantity. That's all the efficiencies we built out just through all the different improvements that we constantly are adding tons of improvements. Nice. So it makes it really easy to purchase something, and then from a glance you can tell, like, hey, this is our deficit, this is all the parts that we need. They may be out of stock, they may not. The idea is hopefully they're not out of stock. Yeah. We're preemptive, we're going ahead of time. So we have a ton of cards there, but out of all of those, maybe 5 or 6 things are actually out of stock. So it's actually really surprising we don't have more things, but it's still frustrating. Like, why the hell didn't we have more?
Yeah,
it's tough.
Fair enough. Yeah. Have either of you guys talked to anyone else in business recently that has either similar struggles with Lunar New Year or has experienced issues with coronavirus, and like, what did you guys talk about with them?
Do you have anything?
Yeah, actually, I have a funny story. So my fiance actually works at a medical field, and she actually has to reorder a bunch of products like face masks and stuff like that, and hand sanitizer or whatever. And the coronavirus kind of disrupted that. They're out of stock. Everything, like, they can't order anything.
Dang.
So, you know, I mean, I was having ideas, you know, get some stuff from China, set up an order with them.
Check this out. So you bring that up, right? I literally got an email an hour ago. Email says, check this out. That is hilarious. This is my homie here. Here's some pictures though. You guys want to see some pictures? Here's some face masks.
Is that the N95s?
This is a guy that sells headphones parts. He responded, "Hey friend, coronavirus has affected a lot of people. You want to start buying your face masks?"
Well, I was reading an article about that I think the World Health Organization issued an urgent statement saying that the production of like sanitation products and like face masks should be upped by 40% to deal with the virus outbreak.
Crazy.
Because like, for instance, all the grocery stores and stuff around here have limits in place where like customers can only buy like one disinfectant item or like X amount of toilet paper towels or whatever. So it's like, dang dude, like this is the good time to be selling paper towels, I guess, and face masks.
You know what's interesting though? eBay, if you're selling stuff on eBay, you can't sell the product right now more than market. You can't.
Really?
Yeah, there's actually
Amazon's kind of weird though.
Amazon's Amazon. They'll do whatever the hell they want. But eBay has a thing is if there's a tragedy, you can't inflate the price because of that. Or else they'll shut your listing down. That's interesting.
So you can't sell face masks for $50 each?
You can in store, but not on eBay.
I mean, I was looking on Amazon. There was like three pieces or three face masks for like $50.
$50.
Yeah.
Dang, are you serious?
So I don't know. I don't think that applies to Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon's like, nah.
We're good.
They're
That
like,
just,
recommended seller.
of course.
Amazon's favorite or whatever. Yeah, that's hilarious. Joe, I know you've been talking with some people about. You've been talking with Paul Akers from FastCap about some China stuff. How have you gone back and forth about supplies at all with him or anything?
So I haven't necessarily done that with him, but what I find interesting is that all the people that are typically in China, none of them are there.
Yeah.
So right now, a lot of people are actually getting hired because all the people that usually hire are now in the U.S. So they'll have time to hire people. A lot of people are doing their paperwork. A lot of people are just doing the random stuff in the U.S. So a lot less people are traveling for sure.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my homies that are typically in China or overseas are all in the U.S. right now, chilling at home. And because of this virus, right, it's causing a lot of issues, not just in supply chain, but travel industry is obviously a big deal. Nobody wants to get infected. Everyone's scared, and makes sense. I mean, people are dying. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. 9 people are dead in Seattle, near the biggest city near us, and like that's, it's like wow, dang, like
insane.
But yeah, I mean, other than what we've talked about, did you guys have anything else you've noticed just from that's changed in the business? Like, has the atmosphere been a little different here with all the tension, or what's been going on?
I don't know. I think everything is always changing and moving. I think what I find interesting is how opportunistic China is. So China, quote unquote, causes this issue. Obviously, they didn't, but it's the origination's from there, and then now all their suppliers are trying to sell me things to. Like, oh, it's everywhere now. Buy this thing from us to make it better. And so they're just finding ways to make money left and right, no matter how they can. It's just one of the most interesting. I just saw that email come in today from one of my suppliers, and it just made me like, man, China. Just like if you take a course on like who Chinese people are, like opportunistic. I think that would be the first thing I would see. Like, we caused this virus. All right, now let's start selling masks.
How can we monetize this thing now that it's cost us some money?
Yeah, but generally, like people are talking about it right in the business, which is kind of interesting, and it kind of screws things up. But it's nice because we get a chance to slow down a little bit, and then will allow us to speed up in the future. A lot of training, a lot of cross training, a lot of logistical stuff, moving people around, learning, and just improving. And I think all that stuff is really important. Right. And sometimes it's more difficult to do, David, right, when it's busier. So like when it slows down a little bit, we really get an opportunity to just kind of look back. All right, what sucks? Let's wrap this up. We have a lot of projects. We're like Williams magically producing Apple Watches from literally nowhere. Like, where did they come from? Where were these a year ago? They've been sitting for a year and a half. Now you made 50 Apple Watches. That's so nice. And like, just because we didn't have any other inventory come in, magically other things are being fixed. There's
You
just
get
like
the opportunity to do R&D and stuff too.
exactly. So
Nice.
because of that opportunity to do R&D, R&D is great because of the growth. That's what grows. R&D is our growth factor, and we get to mess around with new stuff. Davis, what kind of new stuff have you been messing with?
Recently, I've been messing with GoPros. Those were also kind of sitting for a while, and I think just a few weeks ago, I just decided to give them a shot, and found a process, and it seems to be working. So I think this will be one of our hot products pretty soon here.
Yeah, I think if we can move Fitbits and GoPros Q2, it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Because fitness trackers and action cameras, that's going to be the category we're going to be pushing in. Nice. So it's cool that David can do that. And David, a question for you. Basically, any product can be repaired, right? It's all about the process and the parts.
Yeah, pretty much.
Glue.
Yeah.
Get the right glue.
Yeah.
P7000.
P7000. Actually, yeah, that's something I use for that repair. But yeah, any product can be used or repaired, but I think the main thing you want to try to figure out is the greatest success for a product would be if it happens often to that product, and if you can fix that. You don't want to find one-off issues in a lot. Say GoPros, if they had a one-off issue, and we just fixed those and weren't able to repair all the units that have the reoccurring issues, then it's not really a viable product for us. So that's kind of the product that I'm aiming for and trying to find.
Nice.
And manufacturer defects, if they're common.
Defects, yep.
If they're common, that's where we can.
Plan obsolescence.
There you go. Good old planned obsolescence. And then basically we can fix, and that issue will never happen again.
Yep.
We know what's causing it. It's certain glue or something somewhere holding that specific thing back to make it to fail. And we fix it, and then it will never happen again. I think that's a huge value add.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you guys have been staying. I think the main takeaway, it sounds like, is to not just because everything gets a little slower or everyone's freaking out around you. You just got to take that opportunity to learn and grow, and not like just sit on your haunches and be like, it'll pick back up in a couple of months. But actually, like, how can we use this to kind of boost us forward? Like, even though it might be slow now, how can we come back even stronger than we started this as?
Yeah, and it gives us an opportunity to sell different things. It gives us an opportunity for me to focus on different things. And when we have product to sell, I'm looking at ways to sell it. If we don't have product to sell, I'm looking at parts to sell, which are more profitable, and we can move more units. So it's just wherever I'm directing my time. I think that changes, and it's nice that we have so much different things that, we have 3,000 parts already minimum, right? We have another 2,000 parts. So there's a lot of different things we can always be selling. And at the same time, because of this, through this mentality of selling all these parts, we are now doing repair guides. Matt, you're doing that. You're driving traffic that way. We're doing YouTube videos because we have a little bit more time, and we're making YouTube videos to repair stuff. We're making repair guides to repair stuff, and then we're trying to get the parts at a good price so then sell to the customer and then be able to ship them all in one day. And so being able to connect all that, and when it's a little bit slower, it's much easier to process all that and just like set a really good process to go forward on it.
Absolutely. Take the break to find a little peace, find a rhythm, find a new rhythm.
Exactly. Matt, what's been going on with you, man? Tell us the good news, the gospel.
Well, yeah, like you said, I've been doing some repair guides, and it's been really awesome because I think for me personally, like usually for watching a repair video, it's actually like kind of nice to sometimes just read it, because you can go step by step a little easier and have it's nice to be able to throw in, extra sentences that weren't necessarily in video of like, hey, make sure that you pull this thing that way, or you like pry this way so that you like don't break it. And the tech didn't say that in the video, but it's kind of like you can see it in a video, but you can't really see that from like a screenshot in a written article. And so trying to find ways to phrase things well so that we can link those up to the videos and just provide another outlet for customers to be able to just fix their own stuff, I think is really, really important. And what we've done is we've just like made that more prominent on our website is by just putting repair guides like right up at the top bar, just along with everything else. It's like, here's our repair guides, here's some common questions, and just really trying to hit that hard so that every repair video we have also has a written version, because then, you know, people can find that if they Google it, it'll show up, that sort of thing. I think that's really important, just finding ways to kind of take the same piece of content and then make it more visible to people. You know, obviously, like you said at the morning meeting this morning, we're kind of empowering people by offering them these repair videos and repair guides to learn how to fix their own stuff. And so making that kind of more friendly to people that might want to read something and or watch a video, I think is really important, just to kind of diversify our creative in that way. But I've been working on that, and then I've also been working on just trying to make our customer service more efficient. So the thing that I'm still working on doing kind of side by side with the repair guides is we use a software called Zendesk for our customer service, and they have a service called AnswerBot, and I think I've mentioned this to you, but it's essentially an AI that can respond to stuff if you have articles written. And so I want to get that turned on here probably by the end of the month, so that our customer service team, we get a lot of repetitive questions. And so having the ability to have something auto respond for us just means that the customer service rep has to respond to less messages, can take more time on them, or learn new skills or that sort of thing. So just trying to make everything as efficient as possible, while still also offering the customer a better experience. Because the cool thing about having an autoresponder is over the weekend when we're not here, if somebody sends just a generic question and they need an answer to it because they've asked the question, you know, the autoresponder gets back to them right away and it offers them some help. And if they can fix their own problem just over the weekend while we're out of the office, then that's just a better experience for the customer. Or even if they're in like a different time zone or the other side of the world or something, you know, I think it's just going to be a better experience. So, and along with that, I also just set up an automated phone system for us. So I need to talk to Michael about this still, but our phone call guy that handles all the phone calls used to just get, him and I talked about this, he was like, man, I just get like all the same questions. Like people are like, how do I send my stuff in? And it's like, man, we've founded that, like the answers as we put them like everywhere that we can. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if people ask us like, how do I send my electronics in for repair, or, you know, what's the process or whatever. And it's like, man, we have that information so freely available, but clearly it's not available enough. Yeah. And so what we did was just set up an IVR system. So when they call in, it just has a few options. And a lot of people still just click through to talk to a human because they don't want to listen to an automated recording or anything. But we do have just options to answer all those general questions so that it keeps our phone lines more free for the important questions that really need to be answered over the phone. So that's the sort of stuff I've been working on. And I think especially right now, it's great that we're not, you know, I'm not as involved in the everyday operations, but having the ability to kind of free up time for people that are involved in them more is I feel like that's pretty worthwhile. Yeah. So.
Dude, our systems this year are like 50 million times better than last year.
Oh yeah, for sure. Last year was
no Zendesk.
Yeah.
No SKU Vault. No nothing.
Like we started the year just setting up Zendesk, basically.
Insane.
I don't even think we had Wunderlist or
we had something else. Yeah. Wait, didn't we have something else?
We were using Asana, weren't we?
Oh, we were. Okay. Yeah. You set that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. The processes are a lot better, and we're just taking this time to learn to handle those processes even better.
It's great. Our capacity level is significantly higher. We can handle a lot more with a lot less people because of the systems and put in place. So I'm really pumped about that. One thing also, update on our website, new repair form. Our Korean ninja, Dennis Pilot, shout out. What up? Hope a coronavirus is not killing you.
Yeah, I hear South Korea is getting hit hard right now. So
yeah, poor Dennis.
Side hustle Dennis, sell masks. I know a guy. But yeah, he launched our new software. We had some issues with it, of course, with any great software. Woohoo, a bunch of issues. He got them all fixed. Customers are sending stuff in. Seems to be easier. Seems to be simpler. Much sexier. That's for sure. And we track how much incoming packages we have, obviously. So it's really cool that we were able to launch that software. It's only been about 12 months in production again. So that's fun. But everything else seems to be good. It's all working, which is awesome. I'm really excited about that. He did a really good job with getting it up and going and making it more scalable. So we can handle about 10 times the amount of requests than our old software was able to handle. I think we did like 6,000 repairs last year, incoming repairs just for individual customers.
I don't remember.
Anyways, a large amount. We can basically do 10 times that now with this new software. Our other software was breaking and just fun things were happening.
It's duplicating things and.
Yeah. So we're, of course, it's still in works. It still needs work, but man, it's so much better than it was. And I'm really excited about the scalability of it. And that's awesome. And we've also added new repairs. We've added some Bose headphones repairs, some new ones, AE2, QC35, QC25, which is really exciting. Any other new stuff you remember us adding? We added the Bose or Beats Solo Pro wireless. We're now repairing those.
Yeah.
Any other
stuff.
updates?
No, I think we're pretty solid. If we're done with the updates and the topic, do you guys have any jokes or funny stories from this week or just recently?
David is a joker. David, tell us a story. I want to give a shout out to David for being the most enthusiastic person in the morning meetings.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Sometimes it's tough.
I'm not a morning person, that's for sure.
Yeah. Especially since we all have a morning meeting at 7.
Yeah.
I'm up like at 4:15 trying to catch the sun, and these guys rolling at 7:28, barely making it in. But we're working on it.
I got here before you this morning.
Yeah, I have an hour drive, Matt. Don't worry, man. And it's been interesting with this new coming in earlier thing. It's kind of fun. Everyone's usually out by 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Another change point, we are now shipping out all packages within 1 day or the same day, which is awesome. That's a huge value add to our customers. Anybody buys anything, it's going to go out the same day. That's so cool. And funny joke.
A speedy world, so.
All right, any funny jokes? Protaz is really good with jokes, man.
I came up with one that was super cheesy about the coronavirus.
Oh, okay.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Corona.
Corona who?
Corona lime. I'm just glad I didn't say coronavirus. It doesn't really work, but yeah.
Boom. Drop the mic. Take away. Have a good stock of all the vital parts that you have. And hopefully over 2 months of supply would be nice.
Yes.
2 months plus.
2 months plus.
Lead time.
2 months plus coronavirus time.
Dude, yeah. Crazy. Never thought this would ever happen. Next year, gonna basically buy out all of China.
Oh, heck
parts. And then just jack up the price in the US.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Sweet. Any closing words? Any final tidbits?
This podcast is sponsored by Joe's GE.
Oh, yeah.
Buy your refurbished electronics from the ninjas at Joe's. We actually repair the stuff we sell, which is pretty awesome. And you guys can support us by buying products from us. If you need your electronics repaired, we'd be more than happy to fix it for you. We have a repair services page on our website that has all that information. We also have a free YouTube channel for all your needs. And if you guys have any comments on different podcasts you guys want made, we have a lot of awesome people here that are super funny, almost to a point where it's a little scary. So we have like a lot of awesome people that would be more than happy to make any kind of podcast about like the end of the world or like creation and stuff. Like there's so many great ideas or just business stuff that works too.
Yeah. You all get down with business.
Word.
All right. Well, this is Matt signing out.
This is Joe. Peace.
This is David signing out.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Look at that.
How long is that?
I don't know what time is it.
Yo, Davis, I was thinking, you know how you guys needed the boards?